At my own birthday party, my fiancée stood up in front of everyone and announced she was going to marry someone else. The room went silent. Guests exchanged awkward glances and looked at me with pity. But instead of reacting with anger, I clapped calmly, deliberately, and pulled off my ring. Holding it up like a blessing, I said, "Wishing you both a long, happy marriage and lots of children." I held the ring out, but no one came forward to take it. Rebecca just gripped the hem of her dress, her eyes burning with resentment. The guy standing next to her smugly wrapped his arm around her shoulder. I let out a soft sigh and placed the ring on a nearby table. Then I turned and pulled someone toward Miss Aileen. Since we were kids, she'd always trailed behind me, and Rebecca, like a little sister. She looked confused. "What's up, Rich? Have you been drinking?" I asked. She shook her head. "No. I tossed her my car keys. I've had too much. You drive." "What?" "Take me home, got it?" We hadn't even made it a few steps before Rebecca suddenly rushed over and grabbed my arm. "Richard, what are you doing?" she snapped. I rubbed my temples. "Yesterday, something urgent came up at the office. We worked all night. Right after the morning meeting, I had to go to another city. I just got back this afternoon and went straight to pick up your gift." I glanced at my watch. 8 now. "I've got a meeting at 10 and a flight to Paris at 6 in the morning. Rebecca, I'm too tired to play games." She stood there, completely stunned, and I was tired. It's the kind of tired that crawls into your bones. My head felt like it was splitting open. I didn't say another word. I gently pulled my arm free and walked out. Celine drove me home. When we arrived, I handed her the gift I'd bought for Rebecca car key. It was the exact model Rebecca had been wanting for months. Took me a lot of effort to get it. Celine's eyes widened. "You're giving this to me?" I nodded. "Pick it up from the dealership yourself. Thanks, bro." Her voice softened. "This time I really mean it." "Are you breaking up with Rebecca?" "Yeah," I said. "The engagement is off. If anyone asks, you don't have to hide it." "Got it." "Honestly, Rebecca went way too far this time. You should have dumped her ages ago." I gave her a faint smile, waved her off, and went inside. After a shower, I forced myself to stay awake just long enough to get through my meeting. The second it ended, I collapsed into bed. When my secretary came by the next morning to wake me, I was still groggy. It felt like I hadn't slept at all. I closed my eyes for a moment. My phone was overflowing with messages and missed calls. Some were asking what happened between me and Rebecca. Others were just gossiping, trying to confirm if we really broke up. A few were checking in on me. Most of them echoed what Celine said, that Rebecca needed a wake-up call. Everyone assumed I was just trying to scare her, that after a few days I'd come crawling back. Because in their eyes, I was hopelessly in love with Rebecca so much so that I had no limits when it came to her. They weren't wrong. Rebecca was the first girl I ever loved. I fell for her in high school. She was beautiful, wild, impossible to ignore. I wasn't immune to that. So one day I confessed, "Rebecca, will you be my girlfriend?" She looked at me, amused, and replied, "I don't like goody-goodies like you." That rejection hit me hard. In my reckless youth, I tried to change myself for her. I started smoking, drinking, skipping classes, going to clubs, just to be the kind of guy she might like. I started hanging around her more. Then one day she showed up holding another guy's arm. "Let me introduce my boyfriend," she said with a smile. That's when it hit me. It wasn't that she didn't like good students, she just didn't like me. She couldn't swim to save her life, but emotionally, she was all over the place, dating whoever, whenever. And yet, somehow, in our second year of college, we got engaged. No dating phase. Just like that, we were engaged. I remember the look on her face. She cried, but also looked at me like I'd trapped her. "You're seriously this shameless? You really think I'll ever love you?" I remember what I said back then. "That's okay. I don't need you to love me. I just need you to marry me." From that moment on, we were engaged for 6 whole years. For 6 years, Rebecca's flirtatious behavior never stopped. She openly flirted with other men, sometimes even dated them. Every time I was the one cleaning up after her. I only ever asked her one thing. Did you sleep with him? She'd always respond the same way. What if I did? What if I didn't? And I'd tell her, if you did, you're free. But she was a strange one. Despite having all those admirers, she never let anyone actually touch her. I honestly never understood what she was holding on to. 3 days after I got back from Paris, I still hadn't contacted Rebecca. But people in our circle kept me informed about what she was up to. Apparently, the guy she'd announced she was marrying, she dumped him? Now, she was out every night at bars, mingling with familiar faces. Even Bruno, her own father, was so furious he threatened to cut ties with her. As for the car I gave Celine, Rebecca bought it back from her at double the price. But what caught me off guard the most was seeing Rebecca at the airport when I landed. Even behind her sunglasses, she looked pale and worn out. She said, "Dad wants to invite you over for dinner." "Sorry," I replied, not stopping. "I've got other things to take care of. I'll call Director Lou myself and apologize." Stared at me for a moment, then turned and walked away with a cold, "Suit yourself." I didn't take it personally. I really did have something to do. My grandfather had called, asking me to come home for dinner. But dinner wasn't the real reason. It was a lecture waiting to happen. "I heard you and Rebecca had a falling out," he said, giving me an out. But I didn't take it. "Grandfather, I want to break off the engagement with the Lou family." Face hardened. "Rebecca's a bit spoiled, but you do what you want. Just know this, I won't agree to calling off the engagement. I'm calling it off." His hand slammed the table. "Neil," I did as he said without protest. "Do you even understand the losses we'll face if this engagement ends?" Of course I understood. Over the past 6 years, our families had become deeply intertwined, financially, socially, politically. Ending the engagement now wouldn't just cause a rift, it would tear layers off both sides. Still, I smiled faintly. "What if I can cover the losses?" Grandfather paused. He tapped his fingers on the table. "Calmer now, and we'll talk once you do." As soon as I left the estate, I sent a message to our business rival, "Miss Lee, do you need a husband?" Emily Lee was the textbook definition of a golden child. She was the comparison everyone's parents made. Look at Emily. Smart, wealthy, beautiful, and all-rounder. She didn't mix with us rich kids who only knew how to burn money and party. We only crossed paths once. I started managing my family's company. Let me put it this way, she was the person my parents always held up as a standard, and now I had a chance to take some pride back. Just last month, we both bid on the same piece of land. I won. Barely. But that tiny victory gave me bragging rights in our circle ever since. When I sent her that message, she didn't reply for a long time. Not until around 11 p.m. she sent question mark. I sat up instantly, hugging my phone, grinning like an idiot. I called her right away. "President Lee, are you busy?" She let out a polite chuckle. "To what do I owe this honor, President Wang?" I got straight to the point. "Have you given any thought to my earlier question?" She paused, then said one word, "Husband." I held my breath. She said it so calmly, with no emotion, but somehow it hit me right in the heart. Did she just call me her husband? Should I say something back? But before I could, she added, "Are you trying to introduce me to someone, President Wang?" I was stunned, so it was a question, not an answer. Good thing I didn't embarrass myself by saying something stupid. I quickly said, "Mainly, President Lee, you're at the perfect age for marriage, and I happen to know a very suitable candidate." She asked, "Who?" "Me." Dead silence. Not the awkward kind, the kind that hangs in the air, quietly saying goodbye. When I looked at my screen, the call had ended. Yeah, ... A little awkward, but I wasn't about to give up. The next morning, I went straight to her office. Soon as she saw me, Emily frowned slightly. Her eyes avoided mine. "Do you need something, President Wang?" Was she pretending not to remember our call? I didn't bother playing along. I looked her in the eye and said, "Opportunities like this don't come twice. Marrying me is guaranteed profit with zero risk. Act now and receive a premium-level bride price package." Emily stared at me in disbelief. She bit her lip and asked, "Are you serious?" I looked her in the eye. "Did you think I was joking last night?" She gave a small shrug. Honestly, I thought you were just drunk. All right then, I said gently. What about now? Would you consider it? She looked me over slowly, her expression unreadable. I heard you had a falling out with Rebecca, she said. This must be true. But if even she doesn't want you, why should I? It wasn't a no, and that meant there was still room to negotiate. For the new D Street project, I offered, I'll give you a 0.5% discount. Emily casually twirled her pen and said 3%. She was definitely taking advantage of the situation. I stared at her, shocked. 1%. 3. 1.5 final offer. 3. I clenched my jaw. Don't push it. 2. That's as far as I'll go. She smiled. Deal. I just stared at her, speechless. She set the pen down and said, It's not about the money. I just enjoy helping people. What a liar. She's the definition of a gold digger. Still, with things settled on Emily's end, I finally felt confident enough to talk to the Liu family directly. So I scheduled a meeting with Rebecca's father, Bruno. To my surprise, he brought Rebecca along. I hadn't seen her in days, and she looked even more out of sorts than before. Right before we entered the private room, Rebecca suddenly grabbed my arm. Why didn't you call me? What? Our engagement is between the two of us. If you wanted to talk about ending it, why didn't you talk to me first? I looked at her quietly. Sometimes I truly envied how naive she still was. You're wrong, I said softly. Our engagement was never just between the two of us. Her expression went blank. Her face turned pale. Inside, Chairman Lee was already waiting. We exchanged the usual pleasantries before he got to the point. I know Rebecca upset you, he said in a calm voice. That's why I brought her. She's still immature. If you've got any complaints, speak freely. I won't be biased. I smiled politely. Chairman Liu, thank you for coming. I'll be straightforward. I'd like to dissolve our engagement. The air in the room froze instantly. Rebecca suddenly stood up, her voice cold and sharp. I don't agree, Chairman. Liu's face darkened. Sit down, you brat. She looked her father dead in the eye and sneered. What now? Making decisions behind my back again. You forced this engagement on me, and now you're canceling it the same way? What do I even mean to you? Her father slammed his hand on the table. Then what do you want? You disagreed when we first arranged this? You've been stirring up trouble for 6 years? You know how much embarrassment you've brought to both families? You don't want to cancel it, fine. Then what are you doing? Rebecca froze. Her expression cracked. She lowered her head and fell silent. Chairman Liu shot her a hard look. Leave. Rebecca didn't just leave, she grabbed me too. She yanked my hand and practically dragged me out with her. It happened so fast, I didn't even have time to react. We looked like a couple running away together. I was speechless. Rebecca, what are you doing? She didn't answer. Just kept holding my arm tighter and tighter. I finally shook her off. Her nails had left 2 red lines down my skin. I winced and snapped. Could you not dig your claws in? Seemed to snap her back to reality. She glanced at the marks on my arm, looking guilty. Are you... ... Are you okay? Something about that look made my chest tighten. I really had no idea what she was thinking. For the longest time, I thought the biggest obstacle to ending our engagement would be the Liu family. I even imagined Rebecca might secretly be glad and help me out. But now, she was the one standing. In my way, Rebecca, what are you trying to do? I asked. You've always wanted to end the engagement. Now that it's finally happening, why are you suddenly acting like this? She laughed, but it wasn't out of joy. Her voice trembled like she was about to cry. You think this is going my way? When has my opinion ever mattered to any of you? Did anyone ever ask if I wanted to be engaged in the first place? I finally understood, so ... You're upset that I was the one to propose canceling it? Is that it? Soften my voice. If it helps, you can be the one to end it. I'll even tell everyone you dumped me. I gave her a faint smile. And really, it's not even that big a deal. Didn't you already announce you were going to marry someone else? This just makes everything official? She looked away and muttered, That's over. I frowned. What do you mean? Rebecca met my eyes. I never planned on marrying anyone else. I stood there, silent, unsure how to respond. But one thing hit me hard at her birthday party eventually. She would marry someone else. It might not have been that guy standing beside her that day, but someone, someday. We'd been entangled for 6 years. I was exhausted. But Rebecca Shea never seemed to run out of energy. Always pulling new stunts. Always pushing limits. That night, I realized I couldn't just keep waiting for things to spiral out. I'm not the kind of man who likes being dragged along. If things were going to end, I had to end them myself. So we parted, badly. Her last words to me were sharp and bitter. "Richard, this time it's not up to you." Of course it wasn't, but it wasn't up to her either. This wasn't something either of us could decide alone. It had to be handled strategically. Before I even met with Chairman Liu, I'd already taken Emily to meet my grandfather. We had dinner together, nothing serious, just a quiet, polite meal, no big speeches, no declarations. But everyone at that table understood what was going on. That night, my grandfather finally let go. "I'm too old to manage you young people's business anymore. Do what you want." With that approval in hand, I went straight to Chairman Liu's office the next day. We wrapped everything up within an hour. The engagement was officially canceled. We agreed to announce the news publicly, both families posting the official statement on our websites at 8 a.m. the following morning. Later that evening, Emily asked me, "So, what exactly did you offer the Liu family?" She didn't have her usual cool corporate tone. Now, she looked genuinely curious. Right after leaving the live offices, I had called her to invite her to dinner. She told me flat out, "Come to my place." At first I hesitated, but then I figured since our relationship was about to shift anyway, why not test the waters? Turns out I overthought it. She just didn't feel like going out. No fancy welcome. No big gestures. She had Aunt Zhang warm up to pre-packed meals and cracked open a bottle of wine. Still, the atmosphere felt oddly comforting. "You're overthinking it," I said as we sat down. "Do I look like someone who'd beg and grovel?" Emily tilted her head and watched me, clearly expecting more. I went on, "Honestly, the Liu family doesn't really have anything big to hold over me. Over the past 6 years, no one was getting played. It was mutual benefit, plain and simple. But there is one thing." I paused. "Clearwater Bay. That was the real issue. The Liu family is the sole investor on that project. If I broke off the engagement, they'd pull their funding. And if that happened, I'd be stuck with the land, and my capital chain would collapse. So yeah," I added, glancing at her with a grin. "I needed someone who had the funds, the influence, the generosity to save the day." Emily looked at me, stunned, then said, "Don't look at me like that." I blinked, confused. She rolled her eyes. "You're making me feel like an idiot." My heart skipped for a second. Could she read minds? "No way," I said quickly. "You're my lifesaver." Emily gave me a cold little sneer, clearly not buying it, so I grinned and teased, "Come on. To repay your kindness, I'm even offering myself to you. Want proof?" "I can offer myself." Again, right now, her ears turned pink. "Stop being shameless." By then, it was 9:30. We both took out our phones, checking the time. "We're announcing it tomorrow," I said. "Tell me something, would it be a little cruel if I shorted Luze's stock as soon as the US market opens?" Emily chuckled but didn't answer. I raised an eyebrow. "What are you doing?" Then I glanced at her phone screen and hissed, "Wow, ... You're really heartless." She looked up deadpan. "Right back at you. I got a bad feeling. Wait, whose stocks did you just buy?" She answered without blinking. "Obviously the Liu family. ... And yours?" I was speechless. The next morning, the news went public. Just as planned, the internet exploded. People in our business circle lit up my phone with calls and messages wanting to know what happened. It was overwhelming. I couldn't respond to everyone, so I just posted a short statement. "We've broken up. Psst, please don't disturb." But even that didn't slow things down. I had board members to calm, meetings to attend, and then out. Of nowhere, Rebecca barged right into the middle of my conference. My assistant followed her in, looking helpless, mouthing that she tried to stop her couldn't. Rebecca didn't look good. Her eyes were bloodshot, the veins red and angry. She looked like she was about to explode. I told her calmly, Please wait in my office. I'll speak with you after the meeting. Rebecca let out a bitter laugh and bit her lip. Richard, you're heartless. Truly heartless. It was you who said you liked me. You who chased me all these years. You who insisted on marrying me. You bang. I slammed a folder down on the table, cutting her off. Elise, please continue the meeting. Mr. Wong. I gave Rebecca a cold glance, then left the conference room. She followed me straight into my office. She snapped, feeling ashamed now, aren't you? You brought this on yourself, Richard. I never asked anything from you. I never forced you. It was always you pushing things forward. I stared at her. Without emotion, after she finished, I said, "You're right, it is embarrassing. But it's not my reputation that's taking the hit, it's your Liu family's." Rebecca's glare was sharp, almost like she wanted to burn a hole through me. I went on, "Rebecca, this isn't the first time you've barged into a conference room, but it will be the last. If you try it again, I'll have security escort. You out. We're adults now. And adults live by rules. Not every place is yours to come and go as you please." That hit her hard. Her face turned pale and she muttered, "You said you liked me, Richard. How could you do this?" Seeing her like that, I felt a bit helpless. "Rebecca, can you stop and think?" "Yes, I said I liked you. But when did I say that?" "Time was in high school. It's the last time also in high school. We were 17 then. We're 26 now. It's been nearly 10 years. In 10 years, my tastes, my values, everything has changed. I don't even remember what it felt like to like you back then. And honestly, did it even matter to you whether I liked you or not?" Rebecca took 2 shaky steps back. She said softly, "So, you haven't liked me for a long time." "Yes, that was the truth," she continued. "All these years, I did so much for you, but you never reacted. You acted like none of it mattered. Even when I kissed other guys, you turned a blind eye. Afterward, you'd just tell them to keep the photos quiet. I kept testing your limits, and you never had any with me. As long as I didn't sleep with them, everything was fine." Just as long as I didn't sleep with them." She gave a bitter laugh. "Everyone thinks you're head over heels in love with me, but only I know you never loved me." Then she shouted, "Why? Why do you say you love me when you feel like it, and take it back when you don't? You decide when to get engaged and cancel it just as easily? Richard, who do you think you are?" I was a little stunned, and the words came out without thinking, because I have the ability to do so now. Something felt off. "Rebecca, don't tell me you actually like me?" She froze. She opened her mouth to deny it, then stopped. Herself, I found it almost absurd. "Who taught you to love someone like this, Rebecca?" She looked at me as if clinging to hope. "I've been wrong all these years. I won't act like this anymore. Not cancel the engagement, okay?" It was the first time she spoke to me like that with humility. But it was already too late. "Rebecca," I said quietly, "my standards for choosing a partner have changed over the years. When I was younger, I was drawn to someone beautiful and bold. But now, I want someone who can stand beside me as an equal, someone I can respect, someone who understands me. And you're not that person." Rebecca never fit the kind of partner I needed. But her family, the Liu family, did. I used to think it was fine if Rebecca played around, as long as she didn't create problems for me. But over time, she became the problem. Later, Emily called. "Your ex-fiancé still making a scene?" I chuckled. "President Lee, your intel is impressive." Emily scoffed. "It's not that I'm well informed. It's just that your ex-fiancé is putting on too big of a show." I sighed. My head was starting to ache. She kept calling her my ex-fiancé, and for some reason, it sounded kind of sour. But I didn't dare think Emily was jealous. We're the same kind of people. If someone on her side stirred up this kind of drama, I wouldn't be thrilled either, I promise. "This is the last time. It won't happen again," I said quickly. Emily responded with a simple hum, then hung up. Right after, I told my assistant to notify the front desk if Rebecca showed up again. She'd need an appointment to come in. That day was packed. I spent the entire time dealing with the board, calming tensions and keeping things in check. Just as I was wrapping up for the evening, I got another unexpected call from Emily. Her tone was oddly subtle. "Your front desk told me to make an appointment," she said. I went silent for a moment. "That wasn't the issue, though." "You're here?" I asked. She didn't answer, but that silence said everything. I sighed. "Hand the phone to the receptionist." After clearing things up, I turned to my assistant and said, "From now on, if Emily comes, don't stop her. Let her up right away, Emily." My assistant blinked, looking surprised. I nodded. She gave me a silent thumbs dash up. When Emily arrived, she didn't come empty-handed. She brought dinner. I was hungry, so it was appreciated. Though 7 or 8 packs of instant meals, that felt like overkill. I gently told her I couldn't eat all of it. She gave me a flat look. "Can I eat with you?" So we ended up rearranging a space in the office and had dinner together, talking as we ate. Our main topic was the Clearwater Bay project. I knew I needed to be open with her after all. She'd be holding the key to my future now. By the time the conversation ended, we were both full. I leaned back a little, looked at her and asked, "You didn't really come all the way here just to bring me dinner, did you?" She raised an eyebrow. "I've already met your grandfather. When are you planning to meet my parents?" Her sudden question caught me completely off guard, choked on my water. Couldn't swallow, couldn't spit. I started coughing so hard. I nearly turned red. Emily looked at me, unimpressed. "You're not planning to burn the bridge after crossing it, are you?" Still coughing, I waved my hand. "Of course not. How could I?" Only then did her expression soften a bit. She reached out and lightly patted my back. "Pathetic," she muttered. Once I finally caught my breath, I sighed. Honestly, I don't have much experience with parents. I was raised by my grandfather after my parents died, and he's a man who only thinks in terms of profit. He raised me not as a grandson, but as his successor. If I made a mistake, I got punished. Feelings never mattered. It was always about interests. "But your parents are different," I added quietly. "They're not the ones I have a deal with. That's you." For a moment I felt oddly melancholic, but Emily didn't seem fazed at all. "What's there to worry about?" she said lightly. "Just cater to their preferences." Tea. My mom's into skincare. I took a deep breath. "When?" "Next weekend." "All right." I nodded. She narrowed her eyes. "What's wrong?" "Nothing," I said quickly. Emily gave me a long sigh. "Don't act like you're heading off to a battlefield. They're not going to eat you, and I'll be there to help." Being with Emily was surprisingly easy. She knew how to respect space. "Maybe you're my lucky charm," I joked. She laughed. "You're pretty good at attracting wealth yourself." I grinned and held out my hand. "Pleasure doing business." She took it. "Pleasure's mine." I hadn't seen Rebecca in a while. Just when I thought I was finally forgetting her, she showed up again looking like a complete mess. Lately, she'd been spiraling. Her clothes had gotten flashier, her nights out longer. Social media was filled with her late-night escapades. I'd even gotten a few calls from people begging me to come talk her down, said she refused to leave places unless I came. Most of those people I blocked. Eventually, things calmed down, until she showed up at my place. She stood by my door, holding a wine bottle, looking empty and pale. I tried to ignore her, reaching for the doorknob, but she grabbed my hand. "Rebecca." "Let go," I said, voice low and sharp. Her hand trembled, and for a second, I hesitated. But then she released me. I let out a breath, relieved, and started closing the door. That's when she spoke. "I know everything." I froze. "What are you talking about?" She looked up at me, eyes glossy with tears. Even her lips were shaking. "My dad told me. If he hadn't agreed to get engaged to me. Back then, he would have brought his illegitimate son home a long time ago." Rebecca raised her arm to cover her face, voice breaking. "He has a son, just 2 years younger than me. I never knew." The day after we canceled our engagement, her father brought his illegitimate son into the company and I had no idea. Not long after that, he transferred 2% of the company's shares to him. I still didn't know. It wasn't until yesterday that he brought him home. He looked me in the eye and said, "That's your brother. Get along with him." How could that be real? Was he out of his mind? He even said that if it hadn't been for me, he never would have let his daughter inherit the Liu family's assets. He would have brought his son back years ago. Rebecca lowered her arm. Her eyes were red and glassy. She looked at me and asked, Richard, am I a complete failure? I looked at her calmly and answered, yeah, a complete failure. She gave a faint, bitter smile. You really do hate me. Won't even lie to comfort me a little. She was drunk. I didn't want to argue with her. She took a few steps back and leaned against the wall, her voice low and distant. I always end up being the one left behind. When I was younger, I fought him on everything. I thought if I disobeyed, it would hurt him. Thought acting out, indulging myself, would somehow punish him. But he'd already given up on me a long time ago. Then she looked up at me half laughing, half crying, and you. I kept trying so hard to make you care about me. But you haven't loved me in a long time, have you? I'm the only one going in circles, stuck in the same place. Everyone else is moving forward. And I'm just here, left behind. You all left me. No one stayed. She kept saying the same things, over and over, like she was lost inside her own world. I called her best friend. She showed up quickly, pulling up in a sleek sports car. When she saw me, she sighed and said, "What kind of doomed relationship is this?" I didn't respond. I just smiled faintly. "Can't you give her another chance?" she asked. I shook my head. "You just called it doomed. That's your answer." She clenched her jaw, frustrated, and helped Rebecca up. I knew she'd regret everything. ... Serves her right. Just for a moment, but honestly, it didn't affect me much. The real challenge now was dealing with Emily's parents. Emily's mother loved beauty, but gifting her skincare or makeup felt too common. So in the end, I chose a diamond necklace. A woman's love for diamonds never fades. Her father was a tea enthusiast, so I had a few good options, but I wanted Grandpa's opinion first. Took one look at my selection and grumbled, "Penny-wise, pound foolish." I sighed. "They're already expensive." He scoffed. "Wait here." A few minutes later, he handed me a plain-looking tea cake. "Take this." I eyed the simple packaging. "You trying to get me kicked out?" He rolled his eyes. "Really don't know value when you see it. That one's worth 10 of yours. Seriously? Get out." So I took it. Why not? Before I left, Grandpa gave me some final advice. Speak nicely. Listen when the elders talk. Don't argue. Almost laughed. I wanted to say, when have I ever argued? But saying that would just sound like I was arguing. So I kept my mouth shut, feeling a little wronged. Soon, the weekend arrived. The driver picked me up, and we went to get Emily. I stayed quiet the whole ride. The silence in the car felt suffocating. Out of nowhere, Emily reached over and held my hand. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Warming you up, in case you die of nerves before we get there." If I said I wasn't nervous, would you believe me? She shook her head. I chuckled. All right, maybe a little. Then I slipped my arm around her shoulders. "This is what warmth feels like." She narrowed her eyes. "Are you sure you're not just taking advantage of me?" I grinned. "Aren't I supposed to?" She smirked, lips barely holding back a smile. "I guess." Her family's place was much more relaxed than I expected. Her dad did the cooking and it was delicious. Her mom, she just had to sit there and look stunning. She used to be an actress after all. They liked the gifts a lot. Her mom even wore the necklace right away. But then, the conversation took a strange turn. Her dad casually asked, "So, when are you two planning to get married?" Emily immediately looked at me and said, "Yeah, Richard, when? Are we getting married?" I almost choked. Was she trying to trap me? I answered smoothly, "Anytime. I'm ready when she is. I'll follow her lead." Emily just stared at me. I raised an eyebrow at her, and she said, "My idea is to register the marriage at the end of the month and have the wedding at the end of the year." I was stunned. Emily's mother lit up, clearly thrilled, and dove into wedding plans with infectious enthusiasm. Meanwhile, I was just confused. I stayed that way even after we left. Sure enough, talking about money had been a lot easier. As we were heading out, Emily turned to me and said seriously, "Let me know when you've made up your mind." Made up my mind about what? Marriage certificate this month? Wedding by year-end? Then she added, in business, we always ensure partnerships. Isn't marriage just a natural part of that? That night, lying in bed, I started thinking about marriage. I weighed the pros and cons, analyzed the risks, calculated the gains, still stuck in limbo. Then I got up, had a glass of water, and suddenly it clicked. Emily had never really given me a choice, just a question with an obvious answer. I had planned to marry her anyway, so did it really matter whether it was sooner or later? No, it didn't. So I sent her a message. Emily, I've thought it over. She replied with a single question mark. I didn't respond. I just went to sleep. The next day I told her, let's get married. Emily stared at me. Are you serious? I looked confused. Weren't we planning to get married already? Then I signed a check for $200 million and handed it to her. Emily nodded sincerely. Impressive as always, Mr. Wong. Years later, after our daughter was born, she finally told me, back then, I thought you'd propose romantically, but nope. Impressive as always, Mr. Wong just handed me a check, not a single frill. And you still said yes? Of course, she said. There's nothing shameful about making money. Emily and I scheduled the marriage registration 3 days later. It's the same day she would officially invest in Clearwater Bay. That way, when we made our marriage public, it would be a win-win. For both of us that morning, someone from the Liu family was set to visit to discuss future collaborations. What I didn't expect was that the person... She held my hand a little longer than necessary before replying, President Wong, the pleasure is mine. There was no small talk. We got straight to business. To my surprise, Rebecca didn't ask for any changes or add any new conditions. All the contracts followed our previous agreements. Don't worry, she said. Our personal history won't affect the collaboration between our families. I couldn't tell if she had something up her sleeve, but honestly, it didn't matter. A good deal is a good deal, and only a fool would pass it up. We signed the contracts smoothly. President Wong, would you like to join me for lunch? She asked. Of course, I replied. Since she was getting involved in the company's affairs, we were bound to see more of each other. Better to keep things civil. Rebecca chose a familiar restaurant, one I visited often, though it was my first time going there with her. She ordered dishes I liked, but I pretended not to notice. I raised my glass and said, Thank you for the hospitality, President Liu. I hope our cooperation goes smoothly. She gave a bitter smile. Do we really need to be this distant, now that we're no longer engaged? Can't we at least be friends? I set my glass down. Of course we can be friends. She froze for a moment, her expression darkening slightly. So, you really have no feelings for me left at all? I felt a headache creeping in. How had I missed it all these years that she was such a hopeless romantic? Rebecca, I said, if you're joining the company, focus on your work. Don't dwell on things that don't matter. She stared at me, eyes unblinking. If I do well, will you give me another chance? I frowned. Another chance for what? To be with you, she said quietly. Richard, I'm not giving up on you. I felt conflicted. How was I supposed to break it to her gently that I was about to get married? Rebecca, you're free to chase whatever you want in life. Don't do it for me. I'm not responsible for your choices. Her voice rose slightly, hurt and angry. So all these years you never once tried to stop me? Whatever I did was just my own problem. The moment I crossed your line, you cut me off. Her emotions were spiraling. I met her eyes. So, are you blaming me now? She panicked. No, that's not what I meant. I rubbed my temples, exhausted. Rebecca, I've made my way through life with hard work and plenty of mistakes. I'm not even sure the path I'm on is the right one. So why would I map out your life for you? Again, I told her, you're free to do whatever you want. Just don't tie it to me. I'm not the one responsible for your future. I stood up to leave. She reached out, trying to stop me. Just then, the door to the private room opened and Emily walked in. I heard from the manager that you were here, she said. I stepped forward and wrapped an arm around her shoulder. Let me introduce you. This is Emily, my wife. Rebecca's face went pale with shock, but I didn't bother reacting. I pulled Emily along without looking back. "You're using me?" Emily asked, half amused. "Using you, aren't you?" "My wife, am I?" she teased. "Did the law say so?" "Then, can I exercise my husband rights in advance?" I grinned. Emily laughed softly and took my hand. "Of course you can, hubby." That definitely upset Rebecca. She suddenly lunged forward and grabbed my arm, not caring who was watching. "Don't do this, Richard. Please don't treat me like this. You're lying to me, right? This is just revenge, isn't it?" Her eyes were filled with desperation. Before I could say anything, Emily stepped in and slapped Herculean across the face. "Miss Liu," Emily said coldly, "please have some self-respect." Rebecca held her cheek, her eyes blazing with fury. She growled, "Get out of here. Give Richard back to me." Emily just smiled. "Miss Liu, your engagement with Richard was already cancelled," Rebecca snapped. "This is between me and Richard. It has nothing to do with you." She raised her hand to hit Emily, but before she could, I grabbed her wrist, yanked her away and pushed her down. I turned to Emily. "Are you all right?" Rebecca stared at me, something in her gaze dimming like a light had just gone out. I looked at her, feeling nothing. "Rebecca, this is pointless. Whether you regret things or not, it's over. We're not engaged anymore. So please swallow your emotions, even if they hurt. Stop chasing me." Emily and I walked to the underground parking lot. Before I could open the car door, she tugged at my sleeve. "What's wrong?" I asked. She looked at me, smiling playfully. "President Wong, you're kind of cool. I think I'm starting to like you." I raised an eyebrow. "Just a little," she leaned in. "Maybe a little more than that." I reached up and brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. Approved. "By President Wong? We're partners. We're getting married. Who knows? We might even spend a lifetime together. I don't mind falling in love with you." 2 days later, Emily and I woke up early and headed to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Our assistant had already reserved a number for us. Standing shoulder to shoulder, heads touching, we took our marriage registration photo. My heart was beating. Faster than expected, we got the certificate quickly and rushed back to the office. Emily made her official investment. Our corporate site published both our partnership deal and our marriage certificate. "Mr. Wong, congratulations on your marriage. Looking forward to working with you. Mrs. Wong, congratulations. Make this a fruitful partnership." After that, we moved in together. I bought a place close to both our offices. We were perfectly in sync both in life and at work. Things finally started feeling full. It's like I was actually building something solid. With that momentum, I began expanding my business into new industries. I wasn't shy about it. A powerful alliance gives you boldness. Soon, Emily and I were being referred to as the money-making couple. I liked the sound of it. I hadn't heard anything about Rebecca in a while. Then, one day, I found out she'd been sent abroad. That surprised me. Her father had always loved her the most. Grooming an illegitimate son hadn't been about favoring boys, but about trying to help Rebecca get back on track. The Liu family wasn't some feudal clan. There was no throne to inherit. They never planned to abandon her, especially now since she had finally started doing legitimate work. So, right. Happened? I asked Emily. She hesitated for a second, then told me she tried to go head-to-head with me. Her father found out. Go head-to-head? How? She tried to steal business recklessly, without thinking about profit or loss. But she had no authority in the company. The moment she gave orders, her dad caught wind of it.
They had a
massive fight. She even said she'd never let me live in peace. That was the final straw for him, so he sent her away. Why didn't you tell me? She raised an eyebrow. Tell you what, your ex-girlfriend is still obsessed with you. Are you that free? Of course not, I sighed. I'm swamped. I've got work and a year and a wedding to plan. My plan was to delegate everything, sponsorships, arrangements, all of it. Because right now, I had something better. A future that finally made sense. When Emily heard that, she pouted and walked over to kiss me. Honestly, I had no choice. I gave in. reluctantly, helplessly, and completely defeated by her charm. Later, planned a grand wedding, something straight out of a dream. Everything was perfect. Even Rebecca showed up. She was dressed to the nines, as if trying to outshine the bride, or steal the groom. But she didn't cause a scene. She just sat there quietly and left just as silently. That night, as the celebrations faded, Emily stood on her toes and kissed me gently. Then she smiled and whispered, "Mr. Wong, please, take care of me for the rest of our lives."